Hi, we're going to talk about 10 technologies that will change the world. Really, one amazing technology and 9 also very cool technologies. All of them exist in current form as far back as the early 2020s. We're going to talk about where they're going over the next 100 years to the 2120s. Right. AI is obviously the first one. It's the most important one. Everything else is downstream of AI, so we'll just get this out of the way and talk about the big baddie in the room first. What is AI? Where's the line? Is it just really good computing? Is it computing you can't quite understand? Is it computing with a soul or a mind or a heart? People want to draw the line in different places, so just to clarify what we're going to talk about here, let's draw the line at AI is true conversational computing, so that you could ask it a question and like an oracle, it would respond. It would be able to fully answer your question if it knew or could access the information required to do that, and critically, if it couldn't, it wouldn't just go blah, blah, blah. Like, it wouldn't just pull a bunch of shit from the internet, excuse me, and vomit at your face like, maybe these are the answers? Don't know. Could be. It would say, gee, I don't know actually, and I could do the following sorts of research to figure it out. So whether or not you consider that to be conscious, sort of beside the point, because it's incredibly useful. And you should remember for the sliding scale that supercomputing already exists in the form of like a calculator. That's a super intelligent machine just for a very narrow task. So really getting to super intelligent AI is just the process of adding more tasks to that until you equal or surpass average human intelligence. And that itself is a bit of a misnomer, because as soon as you're as intelligent as a human, you're like a billion times more intelligent than a human, because you can calculate everything really fast. So you could do your humaning a gazillion, or we'll stick with a billion. It's just much faster. So that's for another time, but AI obviously is the big thing. Where are you in the 2020s? You're just hitting the point where your supercomputers are more powerful than average estimations for human brain performance. Like 10 to the 15 to 10 to the 18 calculations per second are the estimations of how fast a brain can crunch. Upper end might be 10 to the 21, but you're in the 10 to 18 power computing level now with your, I think, exascale computing. So we'll talk about that another time, but that's a critical sort of turning point, because you're heading into a world where computers are going to be faster than humans at the highest levels. And of course, what's going to make that really interesting is when it gets cheap and widely available, first through like big commercial computers in the cloud, and then eventually through personal computing. But human-level personal computing is still a decade or two away if you're in the early 2020s. Doesn't matter though, because the AI is coming, and that's probably like late 2020s, early 2030s. You're going to hit that line of feeling like, yeah, this oracle thing really is true. So whether or not it's conscious, that's a whole other kit and or caboodle. But that oracle kind of computing is going to enable all these other technologies, and that's why I harped on it a little bit extra. We'll go through these next 9 slightly faster, but you can imagine how it would help, because you could just ask this oracle, how would I make X technology? And it would say, well, what you'd want to do is, and go on down the list. So right next up, following AI, we're going to do this bundle of autonomy, and then we're going to do a bundle of the body, and then we're going to do a bundle of industry. So 3 things in each. So the bundle of autonomy starts with robots, your classic, simple, everyday, metal-ish or plastic-ish or wormy friends, maybe driven by some general AI, maybe working with really narrow AI, maybe learning through progressive exposure to varying environments how to do various stuff. You've obviously got robots in the 2020s, but they're going to get much better. They're going to eventually become as dexterous and eventually more dexterous than humans, and this is going to lead naturally into the next chunk of the autonomy puzzle, which is swarm robot behavior. So not just one delivery robot, but millions of delivery robots all over the world, getting you that last mile. You've already seen swarms of drones, which we tried calling dwarms. I'm not sure if I've dwarmed up to that just yet. What do you think? They certainly look cool. They probably deserve a cooler name than that. And they're very interesting for just, Olympic type firework displays, but they're also obviously compelling as weapons of destruction. So there's a lot of kind of scary stuff in the field of robotics that will, while it removes humans from the battlefield, also make it easier to enact destruction with lower political penalties. That has some geopolitical implications, which maybe we'll discuss another time. Quick pause. If you're interested in any of these more than any other, please comment about that. So we'll address that next. We're going to go through all these topics eventually in the long run of all the episodes, but if one of them is grabbing you, we'd love to know. We'll zoom in on that and double click it together and we'll have a good conversation. Following in this robot vertical, the next and probably most exciting one is nanobots, and this is going to open up the next realm we're going to talk about of body stuff. But nanobots can also be really useful for construction, for lots of different industry applications, again for security and destructive capabilities. But essentially what this means is just like swarm robots, but on a teeny tiny scale. So you can get into the micro and the nano and interface with bacteria, make super strong structures, do lots of things inside the human body. And let's just move over to that second vertical now. So 3 big techs in the human body in the next 100 years. Regenerative medicine. Nanobots are going to help deliver specially tailored particles to help your body rejuvenate. They're going to help put stem cells where they need to be. They're going to deliver the Yamanaka factors to help rejuvenate cells in situ. Then after that, they're going to facilitate full-on live adult body edits because they're going to be able to deliver gene editing information to all the necessary relevant cells. So eventually, 30s, 40s, 50s, you're going to enter a paradigm where you cannot just change one little gene like your eye or your hair color, but you can actually change the shape of your body, and human forms will become vastly more fluid as a result. So that's the second of the body techs. The third and kind of most transcendently exciting is true VR, like actual immersive VR. In the 2120s, we think it's sort of hilarious that you went through a phase where you had goggles on and you were all, batting drum machines with lightsabers or whatever you're doing in the 2020s, because around about the 2040s, when the nanobot tech is good enough, it's just going to go into your brain, turn the receptors on and off at the location where they're most relevant, like throughout your brain in billions or even trillions of cells, and that's going to be capable of creating truly immersive virtual experiences, which might, for many people, supplant the need to exist in their boring old meat sack original gangster body. They might just transcend and move into this new different world where they live kind of like in a matrix box but in the machine. It also opens up the natural question of whether you can replicate everything that's going on in your brain and make a digital copy of yourself. The phrase uploading is a little charged and slightly weird because there's no transition point really of getting you across that ether threshold. Just going to make another you that's uploaded in the cloud, right? So you can upload a copy of yourself. It's not the same as you becoming the cloud. It's like there are 2 of you, and one of you is in the cloud and can do lots of other stuff, and the other one is in your body and might still die. We'll talk about that more later if you want to. Might not. It's kind of a bummer. Okay, the last vertical is industry, and these are a bit of a grab bag, but they're still super world-shaking. Although, as I say that, this first one's not going to sound that exciting, but cultured protein is going to change an awful lot about human industry. When you don't have to have animal farms with literal cows in boxes that you're injecting with drugs and you're tormenting them and you're taking away their babies, and God, you're making super bugs. They, poop on each other in cages. Really bad, okay? Factory farming just suckety yucks. So it's going to be much better when you can just 3D print all your protein You can maybe harvest bacteria or harvest bugs, and that's a little less icky, but like really, ideally, from a moral standpoint, what you really want to do is make the most delicious and most nutritious kinds of food without killing anything at all. It would be really great if you could get there as soon as possible, but in reality, this is a slow walk. You know, you've got it in the early 2020s, early 2030s, you're going to see some of the transitioning. 2040s, you're still, in many places in the world, eating lots of animals, but over the 40s and 50s, you're crossing a threshold into like, okay, we can largely do this through machines now. And just the milk alone is going to revolutionize human food industry, and that can happen as soon as like the late 2020s even. So the 30s are going to be like a disruptive, very different time in regards to food and eating it from animals. Next up on industry is fusion power, which I'm sure you've heard of. It's notoriously tricky. The thing that's going to crack it is AI, because you need superhuman intelligence to control the wildly, fastly fluctuating magnetic fields. You need to work with these huge amounts of energy and smash things together in your tokamak reactors. Of course, it's not the only kind of superpower that you're going to discover in this next 100 years. You're going to learn how to work with antimatter, and you're going to learn a lot more about dark energy. And once the AI gets into space and starts building science factories up there, you're going to build huge particle colliders around the sun that can help you delve even deeper into the subatomic world, and that's where you're going to unlock the next level of secrets with regards to harnessing energy, and that's going to enable tons of amazing tech that in the 2020s you think is so expensive and difficult, like desalinating as much ocean water as you feel like, or generating as much food from thin air as you choose. Finally, this is all heading toward absolute computing. Some people refer to this idea in the biz of futuriz as computronium. I like to think of it as absolute computing, and that is basically the theoretical limit at which you can make a maximally dense computational instrument. So quantum computing is sort of like getting you on the road to this, but in the 30s and 40s, once the AI is online and really helping you crack all this out, you're going to get vastly more dense, like theoretically, physically, maximally dense computing. And that stuff is going to be sort of the bedrock of the expansion of computing throughout the universe. To a certain extent, you can argue that the exponential curve of technology will pass a point of discovery and head into a phase more of expansion, where you're not sort of learning new crazy facts about the universe every couple of years. It's more like you're starting to saturate it with intelligence. Perhaps you could speculate that the final end state of the universe that has been building toward this entire time is a state of truly universally saturated intelligence and therefore agency, by which I mean that the entire universe could itself, in some real sense, a meaningful, true, actual sense, be conscious, and whatever it does next will be on purpose. Okay, so that's 10 amazing future techs. Pick one, dial in on it, or 3, or whatever, and let us know, and we'll zoom into that. Or if we miss stuff, come and have at us. Flame up, future on, space out!